Welcome to Conversation with the Masters. Today I'm with Seda. She works with internal parts and family systems. Seda, welcome.
Yes, hello. My name is Seda and I'm from Istanbul, Turkey. I was born in Ankara, the capital city of Turkey, and my ancestral roots go back to Balkans.
Wow,
I
it's a huge story.
Yes, in Turkey, most of the people's ancestral roots goes to Balkans. And I actually started my path in a very different place. I studied economics and worked in the financial sector, both in the United States and Turkey. But around 1997, I went through some deep personal challenges with my health and my life. And those experiences slowly led me into the meditation and inner work, body awareness. And so what started as a personal search for healing later became a long journey, still ongoing. And over time, that journey became the foundation of what now is Radia, my center. I
Okay.
founded Radia, my center, established in 2009 as a space where, in the beginning, different approaches, including systemic work from the beginning, could come together. A multidisciplinary platform supporting the integration of mind, body, and inner experience. Since 2016, the work has naturally deepened into family constellations and identity oriented psychotrauma theory through collaborations with international teachers. And I am facilitating since 8 years now, but I'm in the systemic field as a student, organizer, facilitator, and trainer since 16 years. So I have a very deep field experience with systemic work, but in the latest years, my focus gradually shifted toward working more directly with attachment through inner trauma, parts, and inner structures of the psyche. So there came a shift. And I'm also trained in the somatic psychology. So I'm very
Super.
focused on trauma work. And
Amazing. You describe your work as a trauma focused inner parts with systemic
systemic effects.
effects.
Yes.
So, can you explain, please, what that means in practice?
Yes. Trauma it doesn't live in only in our memories. It's in our body, in our nervous system, and in fragmented parts within us. And according to IOPT, trauma leads into a split in the psyche, and three main parts emerge: the healthy part connected to reality, truth, and growth; the traumatized holding pain, fear, and unmet needs; and the survival part help us function and avoid overwhelm. And of course, the split is not a flaw. It's an intelligent response to our overwhelming experience. And trauma becomes part of how identity is formed. And survival part develops strategies to keep us safe, but adapting to others, suppressing feelings, controlling our emotions, disconnecting from the body. So these strategies help us survive, but they can also limit how we live and relate.
And we have some signs that indicate that trauma is influencing behaviors or relationship across generation.
Yes. Also, yes, we have systemic effects, and how we take these systemic effects is from our, of course, belonging and connection Bonding with our mother is first about survival. And when we cannot bond safely to her, we sometimes, in order to bond with her, we entangle with her pain. So she might be carrying grandmother's pain. And so this is how we entangle.
We can shift a little bit with work with inner parts, right? And I
Yes.
have this curiosity to ask you, how do you help someone identify the different inner parts of
Yes.
themselves?
Yes. And actually, we are resonating for that. And according to IOPT work, we make an intention. For example, I want to be healthy. And we choose two or three parts, three words from there. And those are representing our parts. And for example, I choose I and then healthy. And those parts start to resonate. And we see the pain when we see which ages are they coming from and many things. So we work like that.
That's fantastic.
Mhm.
How can working with these parts lead to healing or integration?
Yes. The most important thing is that when we realize we are suppressing our emotions, so when we release the pain, we start to be in our body and we see whom we are entangled with, mostly with the mother. And of course, our other half comes from our father. And we see those entanglements. And during the session, the parts, for example, the 3 years old say, this doesn't belong to me. I see now that this pain is my mother's pain. So maybe she was entangled with the pain of the mother, which she was, for example, the mother was, for example, had a huge pain with the grandmother. So this is the free by embodying the emotions first, the pain, because we get healed by embodying the emotions and then releasing the entanglements. So within us, there is a healthy part that has never been damaged, and we begin to reconnect with it during the self encounters, and we move from survival into a more authentic self, and that leads to our life.
So at this point, the next natural question what I have for you is
Mhm.
what is the relationship between trauma, emotion, and physical sensation in the body?
Yes. Yeah, physical sensations are like, for example, I feel right now a heaviness in my chest. When I say that, heaviness in my chest is like a body sensation, but I feel lonely is an emotion. It's a different part thing. So, trauma is feeling really heavy emotions, pain, and squeezed in these heavy emotions. Trauma is, of course, it's a like getting frozen, fight or flight adaptations. There are lots of adaptations. Phone is another adaptation, for example. These are survival strategies. And not the traumatized, of course, but the traumatized parts are heavy emotions.
So they are all different.
Yes, there are some technical differences. The survival strategies are different. And in IOPT, Franz takes it as a split, three parts: our healthy self, traumatized self, and the split self, the survival part. Healthy part, traumatized part, and survival part.
Do you have an example how do you support one client who come to you in
Yes.
creating dialogue and cooperating between conflicts or this conflict inner parts what they have?
Yes. We can give some example from a for example a relationship, our early relationship with our mother or primary caregiver forms the foundation of how we experience connection, love, and safety. And of course, as we said, these relationship has systemic effects too. And before we had wars, before we had memory, we are already asking a fundamental question. Am I wanted? Am I loved? And am I safe? And if at any point the answer to these questions was no, the child doesn't simply register an event and the child adapts. So later in life, when we enter relationships, we are not just meeting another person. Our inner parts are meeting theirs. And this is why relationships can feel so intense, so charged, sometimes even irrational. For example, an ex partner is not just an ex, they can represent an unresolved internal dynamic, often connected to our earliest relational experiences, including systemic effects. And for example, if there was a lack of emotional attunement in early life, a person might unconsciously choose partners who are emotionally unavailable. Not because, of course, they want to suffer, but because a part of them is still trying to resolve something unfinished. And this is not a cognitive process, it's a conscious choice, but it's the continuation of an inner experience that hasn't yet been integrated. In this sense, the relationship with an ex can become a doorway. This is not to analyze the person, but to turn an inward and ask which part of me was activated in this relationship. What did I long for? What did I try to receive that I didn't receive early on? Healing is not about blaming the mother, it's about recognizing what belongs to our own trauma parts and gradually strengthening our healthy self. And so this is a very good example of relationships, because usually what we experience in the relationships comes from the very early experiences of attachment. So I can give this example because I work a lot on these relationship issues, and this attachment comes on surface when it comes to the relationships a lot.
Yeah, so it's more so every romantic relationship what we have, maybe we project to each other a lot in some way.
Yes, yes, definitely. Or shadows, and these shadows come with inner parts. We work a lot of with shadows here because they come from early experiences as well, but we suppress them and we put them in a box. So we work a lot of like this.
So Seda, if the
Mhm.
listeners they would like to come in contact with you, what is the best channel?
What's the best channel you mean?
Yes.
We work by Zoom with international people. And if they are in Turkey, of course, they can come to our center face to face. And we have also Zoom workshops, and they can always connect like this. I can give you my email and radiagelisim.com, but it has to be written so they can reach us like this.
Yeah, it's quite simple.
Yes,
Now we shift a little bit in systemic effects. You
yes.
mentioned that too, so I would like to ask you about how do you see systemic effects showing up in the family dynamics?
Yes, it is true by belonging, of course, and true, as I said, bonding. We have first bonding with our mother, and then our father, and our family systems, and then we connect to other social groups, our country systems, football teams, and we are connected to much more larger groups by belonging. We have these systemic effects. And but one thing I want to focus on something is that either it's a systemic work or another work. Usually we focus on reconciliation, acknowledging what is radical inclusion, on restoring connection and finding peace. But here in all of the works, The trauma itself often remains unacknowledged. And this creates a paradox because real reconciliation can only happen when the trauma is seen, felt, and recognized. Otherwise, what looks like a connection may actually be another form of adaptation. When you said about systemic works, this came to me. It might be kind of unrelated thing, but I see a big relation with that because if a person during the work may be encouraged to say she is the best mother for me or to reconnect emotionally without the trauma being properly acknowledged, then we are suppressing something. So I want to say that, especially during the systemic works, we need to be more aware of it. And I saw it in many years that it's really important about the systemic works.
Yeah, awareness always is the key, maybe,
Hmm.
and take times for everyone.
Yes.
Now, I would like to ask you, how do you balance working with personal trauma and the larger family system dynamics?
Yes. What we see here in my work, in early attachment work, it is personal trauma. We can't say that it's a systemic trauma. Our trauma with our mother and our father is personal trauma with systemic effects. This is not a systemic trauma because when we experience something between my mother and my father, it is personal. But of course, this relationship is has the effects of systemic entanglements, but we cannot say that it's systemic trauma. It's different. So when working with mother and father, we have to consider this as personal trauma.
Personal trauma shadows many things to work on
Mhm.
and to heal. If you have a message for the world, what will be?
If I had a message, please consider your traumas, whether it is systemic or whether it is personal, because right now, of course, we are therapists, and in this therapy world, we know that now we have the traumas, but many people outside, for example, my friends at my age, when sometimes we meet them because we are from the same school, secondary school, primary school, and they say that we don't have trauma. And Dr. Gabor Mate has a book like this, The Normal Myth, because we have normalized trauma. So I think everybody should consider what trauma is and what are the effects of it. Because, as I said, we know we are therapists and the clients know it, but many people still don't know what a trauma is because it is normalized. And now we see in the world there are lots of wars, there are lots of things happening, going on, and because of this missing part, because they don't know they are traumatized.
And they react from there, right?
Yes, yes. We are now in the hands of a three, four people who are very traumatized, and it looks like from early attachment traumas, and now anytime anything can happen because of this traumatized people.
Yeah, of course, because in systemic coaching, always we
Yes,
speak, we are interconnected to each other.
yes,
We live in maybe in different countries, we have different cultures, you name it. And yeah, all these things in the final of the day, they are connected.
yes. We are all connected, even if we are outside of the war. Right now, for example, Turkey is a bit outside, but we are a Middle East country. But that doesn't mean that we are not affected. Everybody in the world, even in Peru, is affected from this wars, and so we feel it. And as you said, we are all connected.
Yes, that's true. Now I would like to shift a little bit in integration and reflection.
Uh-huh.
And I have a question for you. What
Yes.
are the most common people engage with trauma focus inner parts work?
Yes, right now we are seeing a lot of early experiences in the womb, and also I am very much focused in prenatal and perinatal periods too. So maybe that's why I'm getting these sessions as well. So, how do we get affected in the womb, in our mother wombs? So, this is very important. First of all, it begins with the environment. During our pregnancy, mother was pregnant. How was the environment? For example, when my mother was pregnant to me, there was kind of inner fights in Turkey, and she was going to university at night, and in the daytime she was working. So she was saying that people were killed in the streets when she was going to the university. For example, this is a huge effect in as an environment during pregnancy, because the baby doesn't feel safe, because the mother doesn't feel safe, because as nervous system is directly related to the baby's nervous system is directly related to the it's not formed yet in the womb. So whatever mother feels, I get these feelings. So whenever she's having another stress with my father, I am getting all these. And also, of course, I am getting her uh, pain, emotions that she had, of course, with her grandmothers. So, this is very important. So, I'm right now mostly interested in this, and a lot of people are coming experiences with the womb. Of course, it comes phenomenologically, and we are working on birth because our birth is also very um, important, and it's our birth story. I can say how was the environment again, and was it with that if there was a trauma or not, and so I can say these are right now coming a lot.
Yeah, our first contact it's with
Mhm.
our mother, and all this sensation, all these feelings, what they store in some way, we feel that too.
Yes.
And of course, when we navigate in life, we'll find some difficulty.
Mhm.
And maybe we ask ourselves, hey, but why? How is happening this? Why I meet always the same person, you know? So, yeah, for someone, it's something unreal, but they are interconnected, and like this, we navigate the life too.
Yes. And if during those times, if the mother has a no to the child, for example, even she can say she is not very sure of me because she was young, she didn't have money, economic situations, and this and that. So maybe she wasn't really very prepared for me. So, and here there becomes a trauma of identity. And the loss of wanting also means a loss of Ines, I lose my eye. And we are not seen when we are not really welcomed, not really heard, not noticed. We lose our identities. As a child, we lose contact with our wanting impulse and instead look for other ones that I can identify with. For example, and in the later times, this becomes like I identify with my husband's wants, with my boss wants, and with others want, and I lose definitely my I. And this is really very important, losing my I and knowing not who am I. It's a really long journey of finding ourselves and who we really are, and our identity, because our identity has lots of trauma.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who just start to explore their inner parts and family system?
In what sense you are asking this?
Because maybe some people they are new to all this, some
Yes.
listeners.
What I would suggest is that actually, if to go by slowly, first of all, because these works in the beginning, You are so much eager to solve with your problems too fast, and you go from this session to that session, but it is not like that. It's a journey, and if we don't go slowly, we can sometimes re traumatize ourselves. So I would suggest someone to go really slowly, step by step, and process it, because sometimes we take the session and then 1 week later, during watching a TV show, we start to cry. So we really need to embody this. And after that, uh, we giving time for ourselves to digest it is really important. And it's not, you cannot do healing in the quickest way possible. It's not that, it doesn't work like this. And it's a lifelong journey of becoming who we really are. So we really go step by step. That would be my advice in the first place, to go really slow.
Seda, thank you very much
Yes.
for today. You take the
Yes.
time to be present here with us, and I hope I see you soon in Istanbul to one of your workshop.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to your program, Marius. And I really hope to see you in Istanbul.
My name is Marius, and thank you for listening.